So before we look at and understand in a lot greater detail rhythms, time values, time signatures, everything like that, we're going to split musical notes. We already know the lines and the spaces, but we're going to split musical notes into three different things. We're going to look at the note head, what the different note heads mean, then we're going to look at the stems, different stem directions, and then we're going to look at different flags or ties or joins that you can have on top as well. For starters, let's look at different note heads. Now when you look at different pieces of music, like this one, for example, there's a lot of different note heads going on. So these are the bottom of the notes, or you could just have notes like these that just look like a unfilled circle, okay? You're not going to come across notes like this without any stem direction, but more into those rhythms in part 2. But for now, let's just look at the note heads, okay? Now you can have two different types of note heads. You can have non-filled in, or you can have filled in. When you've got a note head like this that is not filled in, it just means that it's going to last longer than a note that is filled in, okay? Now we'll look at the next part, stems. Now all that a stem is it's the line that comes up or down from a note head. That's all that stems are, and you can join them up and that equals different rhythm values, again in the next rhythm video, okay? But for now, the general rule is that if you look at the 5 different lines that we've drawn, if you look at the middle line here, okay? So the middle line determines which direction you're going to have the stem, whether you're going to have it pointing up or whether you have it pointing down. Now the general rule of thumb when you're drawing stems is that when you're on the middle line, okay, really it can point up, it can point down, depending on what sort of music, that's okay. That's really not a musical like a faux pas or a mistake or something, that's okay. However, when you are above the middle line, it has to be on the left side, the stem, and it has to be pointing down. Now this note head here above the line, the stem has to be pointing down because it's above the middle line, and it has to be on the left side, okay? So let's draw that. Great, so that's perfect. That's all you would need to complete that note, is you've got the note and you've got the stem on the left side because it's above the middle line, okay, and it's pointing down. Now with this one, really it can go either way. We could draw, if it was pointing down, it would be on the left side, or if it was pointing up, it could be on the right side. Let's do one pointing up. And that's it, those two notes are now complete. Because we've got the middle line, the note stem can go either way, can either be pointing up or pointing down, but with this one, the note stem has to be pointing down because it's above the middle line. Now the last thing we're going to look at in this first reading music notation video is we're going to look at little flags, okay? Now we've already discussed what the note heads are, we've discussed the stems and stem direction. Now we're going to put the third thing on top, we're going to do flags, okay? Now all that flags are is that they're a little symbol that gets drawn on top of the stem. So if we look at the first two notes, if you have a look, they're below the middle line, so they need to be pointing up and they need to be on the right side. So let's do that. So there's the first two stems. Because they're below the middle line, they're on the right side and they're pointing up. Now, the last note, it's above the middle line, so that means that the stem has to be on the left side and pointing down, so let's do that. Now there we have 3 different notes. If we want to change the length of the notes, or how long you play the notes, the duration, we could add flags. That would be one way of doing that. So let's do that. For the first note, let's add a little flag. Because we've put a flag on that first note now, it makes the duration of that note a lot smaller than what it was before it had a flag. Well, and all it was is it's a little line that you draw on top of the note stem. Now we've drawn a little flag on this note as well, and what that's done to this note, the last note, is that it's made the duration of the note, or how long you play the note, a lot smaller than what it was when it didn't have a flag. The other thing you can do, and remembering that the next video will go into greater detail with rhythms, writing rhythms, reading rhythms, everything like that, that's just giving you a broad understanding, is you can join notes. And you can do that by joining them with flags. So, for instance, these two notes here, we could add a flag to the second note and join it up to the first. So all we've done is we've drawn a flag on the second note as well, and we've tied them together, okay? You can do that with flags, and both these notes have the same duration. You play each of those notes for the same amount of time, okay? With the third note, it's actually the same, not in pitch, but it's the same in duration or rhythmic value as the first two, it's just not joined up. But if we wanted to, we could join those 3 notes up together. Again, the next video will explain in greater detail. Just a quick recap today, what we've looked at is we've looked at the 5 lines that you can find in Western music, we've looked at the 4 spaces, we've looked at the treble clef, We've looked at what notes are going to be where, and we've looked at the note heads, the stems, the stem direction, and the flags. So we've covered so much today. Let's not go into too much more until the next video. But well done for making it to the end. Anyone can learn theory. It just takes a bit of time, and you guys are doing really well. Okay, bye.